Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning for all of us. To the Honorable Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy Republic of Indonesia, Dr. Sandiaga Salahuddin Uno, Rector of IPB University, Professor Dr. Arif Satria, SP.MSI, the Chairperson of Organizing Committee, Professor Dr. Ing Insinyur Suprihatin, and the invited plenary speakers, Professor Dr. Insinyur Anas Miftah Fauzi, M.Eng, from IPB University, Indonesia, Dr. Justinus Satrio, from Villanova University, United States, Professor Randy Stringer, from the Center for Global Food and Resources, University of Adelaide, Australia, Dr. Guillermo Baigorria, from Next Season Systems, United States, Professor Vincent Rodin, from Université de Bretagne, Occidentale, France, and Professor Yukie Saito, the University of Tokyo, Japan. Good morning. Please allow us on behalf of the committee to welcome all of you to the opening ceremony of the International Conference on Innovation, Technology, and Management for Sustainable Agroindustry, or ITaMSA 2021. The conference is organized by Department of Agroindustrial Technology, IPB University with Indonesian Agroindustrial Association, or AGRIN, in a collaboration with Villanova University and the University of Tokyo. Ladies and gentlemen, our agenda for the first day of ITaMSA 2021 will be as follows. Singing National Anthem of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya, and Hymn of IPB University. Reports from the Chairperson of Organizing Committee, Professor Dr. Ing Insinyur Suprihatin. Welcoming address from Rector of IPB University, Professor Dr. Arif Satria, SP.MSI. Keynote speech from Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, Republic of Indonesia, Dr. Sandiaga Salahuddin Uno. Photo session, plenary session, lunch break, and parallel session. Ladies and gentlemen, as our first item on the agenda, may we invite all of you to stand up and sing the national anthem of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya, followed by the hymn of IPB University. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we can proceed with the agenda. The report from the Chairperson of Organizing Committee, Professor Dr. Ing Insinyur Suprihatin. May we invite Professor Dr. Ing Insinyur Suprihatin to deliver the report for this occasion.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, Republic of Indonesia, Bapak Dr. Sandiaga Salahuddin Uno, Rector of ITB University, Professor Dr. Arif Satria, resource person, invited speakers, and session chair of the conference, distinguished guests and participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and greeting to all of us. First of all, may I invite all of you to give thanks to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala who has given us His favor and mercy so that we can gather here to participate this international scientific event today. It is great honor for me on behalf of organizing committee to welcome all of you to the second international conference on innovation and in technology and management for sustainable agroindustry ITaMSA 2021. This conference is organized by the Department of Agroindustrial Technology, ITB University, with Indonesian Agroindustrial Association (AGRIN) in collaboration with Villanova University, USA, and the University of Tokyo, Japan. ITaMSA is designed as international scientific forum with the topic of agroindustry, which is held every 2 years. In this time, ITaMSA had to be held online due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This conference will begin with welcoming address and official opening by the Rector of ITB University, Professor Dr. Arif Satria, then continued by keynote speech from Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, Republic of Indonesia. The plenary session will present 6 following actual topics: Sustainable Development Goals, Policy and Implementation in ITB by Professor Anas Miftah Fauzi from ITB University. That STIP Perspective on Sustainable Agriculture and WEF Nexus for Supporting Sustainable Development by Associate Professor Dr. Justinus Satrio from Villanova University, USA. Designing Agroindustry Policies to Promote Inclusive Smallholder Value Chains in Indonesia by Professor Randy Stringer from the Center for Global Food and Resource, University of Adelaide, Australia. Commercially available integrated proximal sensing and artificial intelligence system in agriculture by Dr. Guillermo Baigorria from Next Section System, the USA. Application of artificial intelligence on agriculture by Vincent Rodin from Université de Bretagne, Occidentale, France, as well as recent and trend in research and development of bio-based material by Professor Yukie Saito from the University of Tokyo, Japan. After the plenary session, the conference will be divided into 7 parallel sessions talking about various specific topics. Around 70 papers will be presented in the parallel session. On the second day of the conference, tomorrow, the conference will present a plenary session talking about the 4 following interesting topics. First, the Indonesian Food and Beverage Association roles facing SDGs goal by Engineer Adi Lukman. Chairperson of the Indonesian Food and Beverage Association, GAPMI. Sustainable Product Innovation in Plastic and Packaging by Sugianto Tandio, MSc, co-founder and Chairman PT Harapan Indonesia, Harapan Interaksi Swadaya Green Hope. Success story of small and medium scale enterprise development, case study PT Wardah by Dr. Honoris Kausar Nurhayati Subakat, CEO PT Paragon Technology and Innovation, and Halal Supply Chain from Halal Science Perspective by Professor Iwan Kaswar Samsu, Head of Halal Center, IBB University. Distinguished guests and participants, developing countries, including Indonesia, are currently facing challenges in terms of providing superior innovative technology and management. The dependence of developing countries on licensed technology from developed countries is currently extremely high. Without rapid improvement of capability and capacity in the development and application of innovative technology and management, the nation will continue to depend on foreign technology, which result in the decline of the true independence and competitiveness of the nation. ITaMSA 2021 tries to facilitate various parties to meet closely and discuss this problem here and together find creative solution in the solving of this problem. In this event, competent resource person and participants from Indonesia, Australia, Japan, France, and the USA will present, discuss, and share their knowledge, experience, and information. I believe that this event can be vehicle in offering various new ideas, new inspiration that support agro-industrial development, especially in exploiting bio-based creative business and economic opportunity. We do hope that this conference also contribute to the development of the agro-industry in Indonesia and push forward Indonesia being a superior and competitive agro-industry country in global arena. Ladies and gentlemen, this conference is realized due to the contribution and support from various parties. For that, I appreciate all parties who contributed to the planning and implementation of this event. Special thanks are conveyed to the chairwoman of the organizing committee, Dr. Hartisari, with all the committee members who have worked hard for the success of this event. One more, I would like to welcome everyone to this event. It is great to see you all here. I hope all of us get a lot of benefit from this event. Thank you very much for your attention and active participation. Thank you. Akhirul kalam. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Insinyur Suprihatin, for delivering the report for this occasion. Now, may we have the pleasure on inviting Rector of IPB University, Professor Dr. Arif Satria, SP, MSc, to deliver the welcoming address. Professor Arif Satria will deliver his speech in a pre-recorded video.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, Republic of Indonesia, Dr. Sandiaga Uno, President of Indonesian Agroindustry Association, Dean Faculty of Agricultural Engineering and Technology, Head of Department Agroindustrial Technology, Faculty of Agricultural Engineering and Technology, IPB, resource person and all keynote speakers from Villanova University, from University of Adelaide, from the Next System USA, and from Université Bretagne, Occidentale, France, and University of Tokyo, and ladies and gentlemen, all participants. Welcome to the second ITaMSA International Conference on Innovation, Technology, and Management for Sustainable Agroindustry. Let's pray to God, the Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, for showering us with His blessing, so that we can be here in a good health to attend the online conference. There are several issues that I would like to address in this page. As we know that agroindustry has one of the backbones in increasing the nation's competitiveness, seen from the contribution of the agricultural sector to GDP. And increasing added value in the agricultural sector can be done through increasing the number and competitiveness of agroindustry and the role of human resources. One of the challenges of agroindustry is the very rapid change due to technological developments in the digital era and the demands of consumers and society for products in agroindustry that are not only economical, but also in accordance with social and environmental values. This challenge demands continuous innovation, both in terms of technology and management, to be able to develop sustainable agroindustry, namely agroindustry that pay attention to economic, social, and environmental aspects in its goal and processes. Responding to the innovation of technology and management, creative economy has an important role to improve the country's economy. Creative agroindustries are needed in order to build a creative economy. In the creative industry, there are basic concepts that are important for cultivating creative industry ideas, such as running a creative industry business or even reviewing the creative industry. Sustainability is also becoming an important issue. Sustainability in agroindustry will address three main categories: economic, environment, and society. The goal of sustainable agroindustrial strategy makes a positive impact on this area. When companies fail to assume responsibility, the opposite can happen, leading to the issues like environmental degradation, inequality, and social injustice. And several investors today use environmental, social, and governance metrics to analyze an organization's ethical impacts and sustainability practice. Agrowisdom has certainly important roles in establishing sustainable agroindustry. With respect to these issues, this conference is an important platform and a forum to share our knowledge, experiences, and ideas for exploring local wisdom, developing competitive and sustainable agroindustry. And agroindustry should become a prime mover for economic growth and distribution through active roles in creating value addition to agriculture products for people welfare. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before ending this speech, allow me to open officially the International Conference on Innovation, Technology, and Management for Sustainable Agroindustry. Congratulations to the conference committee members from Department of Agroindustrial Technology and also Agrin, Indonesia Association of Agroindustry, for the hard work and contribution throughout this conference. I also would like to thank the keynote speaker, presenters, and session chairs for their support and contribution to make this conference successful. We all hope that the conference can be a means for various parties to contribute in promoting Indonesia as a leading country in the field of agroindustry and realizing food and renewable energy sovereignty. We wish you a productive conference. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Arif Satria, SP, MSc. Now, may we continue our program with keynote speech. May we invite Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, Republic of Indonesia, Dr. Sandiaga Salahuddin Uno. The minister will deliver his speech in a pre-recorded video.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Greetings from the city of 11 conservations, Lampung, to all of you, wherever you are. It is an honor for me to be part of the second International Conference on Innovations in Technology and Management for Sustainable Agro-Industry, ITaMSA 2021, hosted by the great Bogor Agricultural University. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all know that we are trying hard to fight against the current pandemic of COVID-19. For more than 1.5 years until now, along with the new normal and in the context of tourism recovery, the paradigm of Indonesian tourism has changed from number-oriented tourism to quality-based tourism, focusing on sustainability. Therefore, it is inevitable to implement innovations, adaptations, and collaborations as three main strategies for developing tourism and creative economy sector. One of the particular innovations efforts that can be pursued is agro-tourism implementations. The concept of agro-tourism is a direct expansion of ecotourism, which encourage visitors to experience agricultural life at first hand. Agro-tourism gather strong supports from small communities as rural people to be aware of the benefits of sustainable development. For instance, the development of Bali depends on tourism sector, even though the populations are predominantly still working on agricultural. In fact, agriculture reform as the supply for tourism sector, as well as strategy to overcome the pandemic for Bali revitalizations. Utilizing agricultural and fishery products with agro-tourism approach in the development of tourism will therefore not only improve the quality of tourist experience, but also will increase family income, create local employment, and raise the economic value of the village. This approach can contribute in the forms of agricultural products, handmade souvenirs or handicrafts, chances to establish food stalls or restaurants and accommodations such as homestay, bungalow, and villa, as well as village development. In addition, in the second quarter of 2021, the agro-industrial sector has contributed 50.59% to the GDP growth of the non-oil and gas processing industry and 8.77% to the national domestic product or GDP. This should be accelerated by using digitalizations and Internet of Things. Agro-industry should be combined with creative economy. In fact, the existence of creative culinary products in West Java is a proof that creativity can create added value and economic impact for community. Therefore, we have to really push the potential of creative economy in the field of agro-industry. Eventually, I would like to congratulate and send best wishes for all participants who involve and participate in this conference. I believe that this event will provide benefits and impacts on sustainable development. Thank you very much, and also a vote of thanks to my good friend Rector, Professor Arif Satria, one of the best young talents that Indonesia have. Thank you all. Wabillahi taufiq walhidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
A wonderful Indonesia.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sandiaga Salahuddin Uno. Ladies and gentlemen, now we will have a photo session. We invite all the audience to turn on the camera if you are able to. To all the audience, please turn on your camera. All right, here we have several pages on our screen, and I will count to 3 to take a screenshot. Please be prepared. 1, 2, 3. The next page. 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 1, 2, 3. All done? Okay. All right, we still have several pages. Please bear with us. The next page. 1, 2, 3. And the last one. 1, 2, 3. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. This is the end of our opening ceremony. And now we have to move to the first session of the conference, which is the plenary session. This plenary session will be divided into 2 sessions. The invited speakers for plenary session 1 are Professor Dr. Insinyur Anas Miftah Fauzi, M.A. from IPB University, Indonesia, Dr. Justinus Satrio from Villanova University, United States, and Professor Randy Stringer, the Center for Global Food and Resources, University of Adelaide, Australia. And the invited speaker for plenary session 2 are Dr. Guillermo Baigorria, Next Season Systems, United States, Professor Vincent Rodin from Université de Bretagne, Occidentale, France, and Professor Yukie Saito from the University of Tokyo, Japan. The moderator for both of this session is Insinyur Illah Sailah, MS, PhD. Let's take a look for her CV. She is from the Department of Agroindustrial Technology, IPB University. She has completed her bachelor degree program in post-harvest technology, IPB University, master's degree program in chemical engineering, Bandung Institute of Technology, and PhD degree in chemical engineering, University of Queensland, Australia. Insinyur Illah has been a senior lecturer in IPB University since 1982, and she is also a counselor of Binawan University, chair of the Accreditation Council for Engineer Higher Education Program in Indonesia, and member of Board of Supervisors for Illah. Here are also some of her great achievements. The best participant in leadership training for government officer conducted by LAN in 2010 for 10 weeks. The second best academic leaders in Indonesia for LL-Dikti Cluster 2019, and recognition for 30 years dutifully to Government of Indonesia 2013. Now, we would like to invite the moderator, Insinyur Illah Sailah, MS, PhD. The time is yours. Thank you. Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Masih mute, Willah. Masih mute. Willah.
Still mute. Willah.
Mute.
Yes. Just a minute. Okay, sorry about this. Is it okay now? Can you hear my voice?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning to everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to lead this plenary session. I am pleased to welcome you on the screen, and thank you for joining this session to all participants in Zoom meeting and as well as in YouTube. This plenary session is about sustainable development goals. As you know, that agroindustry is one of the backbones in improving the competitiveness of the nation. Effort to increase cannot be separated from the role of human resources in overcoming industry problems in Indonesia, including capital limitation, difficulty in market access, intense business competition, difficult raw materials, and limitation of engineering and technological expertise, and human resource problems. This challenge demands continuous innovation on the technology and management to develop agro-industrial that pay attention to economic, social, and environmental aspects. Agro-industry development is currently inseparable from the SDGs that have been agreed upon a global action agreed by world leaders with a focus on ending various problems in the world, such as poverty, reducing inequality, and protecting the environment. In this international seminar, agro-industrial development will be associated with the achievement of SDGs goals, especially for agro-industry development. We have two parts in this plenary session with duration of 1 hour each. In the first part, we are going to invite three experts. There are Professor Anas Miftah Fauzi from Université and Dr. Justinus Satrio from Villanova University, USA. Let me introduce Professor Anas Miftah Fauzi first. Professor Dr. Insinyur Anas M. Fauzi, who born in Magelang, 19 April 1960, and he got the degree of Bachelor in IPB and Master in Japan in Osaka University, and in 96 he got a PhD from Kent University at Canterbury. Now his position is Dean of Graduate School in IPB, and so many other assignments such as a member of International Advisory Academic Committee, QSFO, and also many times as a speaker coordinator in Indonesia University Consortium for CRC 1990. And also coordinator of IPB Task Force for World University Ranking. Professor Anas, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sailah, the moderator. Good morning, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Before the presentation begins, let me inform how the presentation will be going on. First, each speaker will be invited to present the materials for 10 minutes. After all speakers presenting the topics, there will be question and answer session for 15 to 20 minutes and followed by conclusion. And for the participant, please write your clear and to the point questions or argument in the chat column. Professor Anas is already here. The screen is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Sailah, the moderator. We'll lead the presentation in the first session. Good morning to everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Please allow me to share the screen. Okay, I hope that you already seen the slide. So my presentation will be the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, policy and implementation in IPB. So I would like to talk about the SDG, very brief, and then IPB's policy on sustainability and SDGs, and then how IPB implement the activity for achieving SDGs, and then some recommendation. Okay, we talk about SDGs. SDGs is are known as Sustainable Development Goals, known as the global goals, were adopted by the United Nations in 2015 as a universal call to action to end the poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that by 2030 all people enjoy peace and prosperity. So there's a relationship between the 17 goals of the SDG with the concept of sustainability, or some people set as a triple bottom line, consisted of concern to the people, to the planet, and also to the profit. So we can see here that for the people, the SDG number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 11, and 16, closely related with the people or the society. And then if we talk about the planet or the ecology, environment, there are SDG number 6, 13, 14, and 15. And if we talk about the profit or economic perspective, there are 4 SDG goals, number 8, 9, 10, and 12. In terms of the policy, national policy, there are several policies been released by the government. For example, the President Decree number 59, 2017, and then regulation issued by the Agency of National Planning, number 7, 2018, and followed by number 127, 2018. In the President Decree, basically established so-called action plan for SDGs achievement in the level of national level and also provincial and also district level. And then based on the regulation issued by the Ministry of PPN and also National Agency of Planning, how to coordinate, plan, monitor, and to report all of the action for the SDG achievement. And then number 127 about establishment of executor, working group, and expert, including here in the university and also IPB, also involved in this program for the SDGs achievement. So now come to the implementation in IPB related with what have been issued, the regulation by the National Agency of Planning. The Faculty of Fishery and Marine Science has been assigned as a center of excellence, especially for achieving SDG number 14, which is life below water. It has been launched in November 2016. And the report is also available. It's also available in the website of the Faculty of Fishery and Marine Science of IPB. And also IPB has already launched. We call it the network, University network for achieving the target of the SDGs. It has been launched also in January 2019, and the report also available in the portal of sustainability of IPB. There are 25 the main activity that contribute to the achievement of SDGs. You can see here the title of the activity here, 25 activity that contribute to the achievement of the SDG. Down to the IPB, there are several policies related to the SDG. For example, here, the regulation issued by the Academic Senate in 2016, it mentioned that IPB to prioritize the impact of all academic activities for human welfare and nature sustainability. And here you can see that all of the unit in IPB has already the website related to the SDG. So we can see here all of the units have number of SDGs that are prioritized to be achieved. And also here the Rector degree related with SDG that IPB committed to reach carbon neutral in 2030 through environmental friendly campus, zero waste, zero emission, rich in bio and cultural diversity. And also regulation issued by the Academic Senate here, we established or issued 8 IPB norms for sustainable development. So what is the norms? We have 8 norms for sustainable development. The first is morality, and second, complexity, efficiency, integrity, inclusiveness, transparency, creativity, and happiness. So happiness is very, very much important. So the norms are as a one to be used as a marker, mover, and reference for IPB in conducting the 3 pillars of higher education, or Tridharma Perguruan Tinggi, education, research, and community services. So that the sustainability project in IPB, the IPB views sustainable agriculture in the context of landscape, where humans have always been part of the landscape. Hence, there is cultural sustainability, sensitiveness, and wisdom that has been associated between local community and their landscape. Ecological boundaries goes beyond jurisdiction and hence warranting the importance to work across jurisdiction in order to achieve sustainability. And then sound science is the key to develop policy or science-based policy on sustainability, and environmental friendly technology is the focus of technology that are developed in IPB. So to follow up all of the regulation established in IPB, IPB established new center, which is called Center for Traceability and Sustainability Science in 2017. Here's the launch of the center in 2018. The mission is to create and enrich the sustainability science discourse by integrating local traditional knowledge into its framework for creation of knowledge in sustainability science with multiple stakeholders and develop a new sustainability indicator. You can visit the website. Okay, and IPB also established a portal. We call it Sustainability Portal in IPB. You can visit the website, the portal, that shows all of the activity on the 17 goals of the SDG. It is presented in 3 sections. The first is about program, learning program, research and innovation, community engagement, science policy interface. The second is partnership, how we partnering with all of the related institutions, with the government, private sector, NGO, and so consortium. And also some document, sustainability report, annual report, green campus report, innovation report, and other report. Here is one of the example, the sustainability report from IPB in 2018, 2019. I know we are preparing for the 2020. And also all of the faculty and school also published the sustainability report, and also the research center. Here's some example. For example, here in the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences, there's a picture here, sustainability SDGs, and also the Faculty of Agriculture. Also, you can find SDGs here. And also the Institute of Research and Community Services, also SDGs here. Okay, IPB also implement so-called the program, so-called the Green Campus, with the reference of some regulation here. And the 7 criteria of IPB Green Campus are environmental regulation compliance, water resource management, energy efficiency and climate change, waste management, transportation, biodiversity, and infrastructure. Okay, now I would like to show some of the example of the activity, the implementation of SDGs in IPB. Here is SDG number 1 and poverty in all its form everywhere. You can see here some of the publication and community services, and the product of agriculture, and also school, livestock community, livestock school to have the peternak, the livestock people, and then also evaluation on participative empowerment. So here, also it's important on the achievement of the SDGs number 1. Here's some example of the activity: mixed farming, sago, duck, cattle, fish, and agriculture. Basically, how to make the farmer get more income to reduce alleviate the poverty. And SDG number 2 about zero hunger. You can see here some of the program, including City Innovation IPB 3S that already distributed in all across the country, and also precision agriculture for increased palm oil productivity. And SDG number 5, gender, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. So some activity shown here, including here the potential media technology as a space for women participation in the climate change issue. This is example of the activity, training of trainers ketahanan keluarga, so family defense, not mistake to translate, conducted by one of the department in IPB, and also some of the activities SDG 5 conducted by the center. Okay, SDG number 13, this is to talk about the climate action, to take urgent action to combat climate change and impact. So we have a smart forestry agro-maritime 4.0 and also implementation of REDD plus. And then this is some of the example of the activity here, development of mitigation and adaptation action plan in 5 pilot cities. And the sustainability report is also issued by the center that related with the climate action. Okay, this is the roadmap for low carbon establishment in IPB. And SDG number 14 is talk about life below water. As I mentioned before, that IPB assigned as the center of excellence for achieving SDG number 14. So here, for example, innovation for underwater television system, sea farming, and monitoring of grouper cultivation activity. SDG number 15 is life above land, basically related with the biodiversity, so preserving biodiversity and also conservation. Okay, so and also we have been conducting several collaboration with international partners. For example, here with Hokkaido University and some other university in Thailand, we have so-called PARE program, Population, Activity, Resource and Environment. So basically here are summer courses, spring courses, and also degree program in collaboration with the Göttingen University, which extended until 2013 since 2012. So how to balance ecological and economic function of tropical rainforest. And also we have joined a double degree program, master program on food security and climate change with the partners from the Asian countries. And here are some of the cluster, I think all related with the SDGs. Okay, and also the activity of IPB in achieving SDGs has been also recorded in the SDG Accord. So we have already listed here as one of the institutions in the SDG Accord. And we IPB is mentioned here in the report 2021 of the SDG Accord, especially for the SDG number 4, because we established already the curriculum 2020, which is mentioned as a good practice of IPB. Okay, and then also IPB has been ranked by Time Higher Education Impact Ranking here. It is published in 2020 and 2021. We are in the top 20 for the SDG number 2. We are ranked in the rank of 7, quite good, and also top 100 for SDG. Okay, and also we are ranked with by the UI Green Metric World University ranking. So here we are ranked in Indonesia. We are number 4. Before we was number 2, and now we are in the number 4. Actually, we have a good score in setting infrastructure and waste management, and also transportation and so education. But we still have to do more on energy and climate change because our score is lower than others, and then also water management. Okay, so the last slide is ways forward. This is my recommendation on how to be better. The first is to establish a dashboard for monitoring and visualizing achievement of the targeted SDG conducted by IPB. So we need to really develop the program and also increase the awareness of all of the IPB members and also surrounding. And then number 2, to develop and implement an introductory course on sustainability and SDGs for all IPB students in vocational, undergraduate, and graduate students. And then to promote research for impact that are contributing significantly to the achievement of SDGs. And the last one is to establish low carbon society in IPB. So with that, I would like to conclude my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
To all participants, please write down your questions or argumentation, maybe suggestion in chat column. Now, allow me to welcome the speaker, Dr. Justinus Satrio from Villanova University, to deliver his presentation. Professor Satrio will present the perspective on sustainable agriculture and WEF Nexus for Sustainable Development. Let me introduce Dr. Justinus Satrio. Dr. Justinus Satrio is an associate professor for chemical engineering and the director of Biomass Resource and Conversion Research Laboratory at Villanova University, which is located in the greater city in Philadelphia. He received his bachelor, master, and PhD degrees in chemical engineering, all from Iowa State University, USA. Prior to pursuing his doctoral degree, Dr. Satrio worked as a chemical process engineering at Burns and McDonnell Company in Kansas City, USA, and at the Agency of Assessment and Development of Technology in Jakarta, Indonesia, for over 4 years. After receiving his PhD degree in 2001, Dr. Satrio worked as a chemical engineering scientist at the University of Iowa and Iowa State University. Of course, his research focused in the area of biomass utilization for production of bioenergy, fuels, and chemicals. Many of his research projects have been focused on non-catalytic and catalytic thermochemical process, especially fast pyrolysis, hydrothermal liquefaction, and carbonization, torrefaction, and gasification. Dr. Satrio last position at Iowa State University prior to joining Villanova University in 2010, was Associate Scientist and Research Program Manager at Center of Sustainable Environmental Technology. And now on collaborating R&D work with Villanova University's Sustainable Engineering Program and Somex Bioenergy Company. Dr. Satrio has served as the faculty technical expert on the hydrothermal carbonization process experimental work by providing guidance to PU graduate engineers who are assigned on the HTC project. Dr. Justinus Satrio from Villanova University. The screen is yours. Thank you. Pak Satrio, you are still mute. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry. All right. Thank you to moderator for the nice introduction. Good morning to everyone in Indonesia. It is an honor for me to be able to speak virtually from the United States. It is at 11 o'clock evening on Sunday night, so I'm a little bit sleepy, and so I'm trying to stay awake. All right, so let me share my screen. Okay, can everybody see my slide?
Okay, it's okay.
All right. So my presentation this morning or in this evening from my place, it is titled Steep Perspectives on Sustainable Agriculture and Water Energy Food Nexus for Supporting Sustainable Development. So the outline, we'll talk a bit about introduction about myself, and then we start with the basics, thinking about sustainability, and then about sustainability and water energy food nexus. That is something that is very important in sustainable agro-industry. And we will talk about water energy food nexus and sustainable agriculture. We will talk about connections, challenges, and potential solutions. Okay, a little bit about myself is the Ibu Moderator has said that I'm from Villanova University. It is located in the suburb of the city of Philadelphia. I've been at Villanova since the last 11 years. Villanova is the oldest and largest Catholic university in the state of Pennsylvania. It is pretty old. It was established in 1842. It has over 10,000 undergraduate, graduate, and professional students. So a little bit smaller than IPB University. My research is in the area of utilization of biomass and feedstock for the production of bio-based products on this. My goal is that how to utilize all those organic waste and then how to convert that into useful products and from biofuels and then biomaterials. I have been involved with IPB University in the past 5 years. I took Villanova students to IPB University to do research, outreach, and then also in the past 3 years, we have done collaboration in the form of international summer course on sustainable agro-industry. So I would like to invite people to students to participate in this hopefully next year after pandemic is over. Okay, let's start with the basics. Thinking about sustainability, Professor Anas already talked about this a little bit, but then let's start with the question, are we living in a sustainable world? A sustainable world is where a world in which human needs are met in such a way that a human population can survive indefinitely. So the question is that, are we doing that? Or are we going into the wrong direction? That is, we are going into the world that is not sustainable. It seems that the direction that we are going right now is not very good. Some basics is that when we talk about sustainable development, we need to talk about sustainability. that is meeting the needs of present generation without compromising the ability of the future of the generation to meet theirs. So it is a state, a condition. Then in according to United Nations, we talk about sustainable development. That is the how to meet the needs of the present generation. And then sustainability, we need to think about three components. That is the society at the top, followed supported by strong economy, and then finally it is supported by a healthy and sustainable environment. So think about the pyramid. Without the very strong foundation in environment, sustainability will not be able to be reached. And those three components, we need to focus that the three components they are interconnected. So we must focus on all the three simultaneously. We cannot just simply focus on people. We cannot simply just focus on the economy, but then we have to consider all these three components at the same time and to reach a sustainable development. And then how to see the sustainable development, we must consider steep perspectives. What I said about what I meant by steep is that we talk about social, technological, economical, environmental, and political or policies. So we cannot do sustainable development only simply just focusing on technology. We have to see it from the perspective of economy. We have to see it from the perspective of social. We have to see it from the perspective of environment, and then we have to see from the perspective of politics or regulation. So all these three has to be done. All the perspectives from this steep perspectives, they have to be used in order for us to be able to evaluate and plan to make a successful sustainable development. And Professor Anas already mentioned about this, the guidelines. The guidelines for sustainable development is this for the global guidelines, of course, then the 17 SDGs. So I will not talk about that. But then all the SDGs has been focused on to support the society, economy, environment, and also the supporting institution and regulation. So all this actually to in line with the goal of sustainability, that is a life that is high quality, that is support with a strong, healthy social society supported by strong economy, and then the economy that is sustainable because of supported by strong, healthy environment. And there is no life without water, energy, and food. So for a sustainable development to be to develop or even to simply just to survive, the driver or the fuels is this interaction of the water, energy, and food. Without any one of these three components, there will be no life. And there will be no sustainable development. Okay, so why this about water, energy, and food? We call them as a nexus. So the nexus is where food, water, energy systems intersect. So for example, that it takes water to create food and energy. It also takes energy to move heat and treat water, and also to produce food. And sometimes also we use foods. We use foods or sometimes food crops or the waste as a source of energy. So we cannot separate all these three vital components. And then the relationship of the water, energy, food nexus is then we cannot separate sustainable agriculture from this nexus. So in development of agriculture and agro-industry, the central focus is on for the success of sustainable agriculture is the water, energy, food nexus. We cannot separate it from the agro-industry. Water, energy, food nexus is central for sustainable development. We established that. And then we can see that is on the agriculture is one of the, is the activity in human life that takes a lot of resources that's in form of water and energy. Agriculture is the largest consumer of the world fresh resources. That is about 70%, 70%. Then more than 25% of energy used globally is expended on food production and supplies. In order for us to maintain this food, water, and energy, we require integrated approach to ensuring global water and food security and sustainable agriculture and energy production. Okay, so we established that water, energy, food nexus is a central focus for agriculture and agro-industry. So let's see some challenges into to sustainable water, energy, food nexus, and agriculture in supporting sustainable development. So let's see what first on the what affecting security of water, energy, food nexus. The main things is of course then the population increase, and then the increase of urbanization, and then the demands of larger middle class. Okay, so population increase, obviously that is the needs is increased, and then the increase of urbanization means that more people living in the cities, and that demands more energy, but also at the cost that is fewer people working in the rural communities, which means in rural in agriculture. And the demands of larger middle class also requires that the food, more food, more energy, and more fresh water. So if we look at the food and agricultural systems, they are affected by demographics, increasing scarcity and diminishing quality of land and water resources, the climate change, and then the food waste. On demographic, we expect that by 2050, the world population is expected to grow to close to 10 billions. Meanwhile, by 2050, 2/3 of those population will live in the urban areas. And then we also have the number of young people that will the increase of population dramatically in the sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia, where the resources are typically a little bit more scarce. Population growth then means that higher demand. 10 billion people, it means that we need about 70% of more food to be produced by the farmers. And then the urbanization that drives change in consumption pattern. Okay, so by 2030, the requirement, the consumption of processed food and meat per capita per person, it will increase about 45 kilograms compared to in the close to 2000, that's only about 36 kilograms. So there is a quite an increase in that. Issue is still about in rural communities, the communities that support the agriculture. Around the world is about 700 million of people living in rural communities that are still extremely poor, not only in developing nations, but also even in the country like United States, that is the wealthiest country in the world, but still there's people living in poor conditions in rural communities, which the people who are working on in the agriculture. So we need to eradicate extreme poverty and reduce inequality. Second issue is that about the demographic, climate change, natural resources, and food waste. And 800 people are chronically hungry. 2 billion still suffer macronutrients deficiencies. And ironically, in some other parts of the world, overweight and obesity are increasing worldwide. So the focus is on how we can end hunger, and then how we can eradicate all forms of malnutrition, either eating too much or or lacking of micronutrients. The increase of food demands is worsening competition for natural resources. That is issue on the forestation and land degradation. Okay, so currently is 25% of all farmland is already highly degraded. 80% of global deforestation driven by agricultural concerns. It is estimated that it will needs about $1 trillion investment necessary until 2050 to make sure that that we have enough irrigation water to irrigate to manage the irrigation water in developing countries alone. So there are issues. So the challenge in sustainable agriculture is that how to ensure a sustainable natural resource base while we providing enough food, but then we want to make sure that this this natural resources is still maintained. Like that is, as we know, that is the main support for sustainability, the foundation. Climate change is becoming more and more. In the United States, we experience in the West Coast a big drought, a lot of fires. In the South, we experience a lot of hurricanes, a flood. In the East Coast, also in my area, we see a lot of rain. And then now it is a fall season. Usually it is already cold. Now it is still very warm. The trees are still green. So something is happening. So it is the increase of fossil energy, greenhouse gas emission. And also the issue with climate change is causing the climate, the weather pattern change, and then jeopardizing crop and livestock production. Okay, so the issue is that greenhouse gas emission has doubled in the past 50 years, and also the rise of frequency of droughts and floods, and so tend to reduce the crop yield. So there are issues. So the challenge in sustainable agri-industry, agriculture and agro-industry is that we need to address the climate change and how to address the intensification of natural hazards, the drought, too much rain, flood, fires. And also for human activities, we are as humans, as a society, is very wasteful. Globally, around 1/3 of all food produced is lost or wasted. Okay, so resulting in the losses for farmers, and then also because of this wasteful, we utilize resource too much, but then we are not utilizing it efficiently. Okay, about 33 to 50% of all food produced globally is never eaten, and that is corresponds to 25% of all fresh water consumption globally is being wasted. If this greenhouse gases from food waste is counted totally, it will be the 3rd largest emitter of greenhouse gases after China and the United States, if a food waste were a country. So the challenge in sustainable agro-industry and agriculture is that how to make food systems to be more efficient, inclusive, and resilient. Another challenge that because of this globalization, we see that the outbreak of transboundary of pests and diseases of plants and animals that is becoming an issue. Just as an example that how the global mobility affect the world, just this COVID pandemic. is a virus, suddenly it's very easy to spread out around the world because of human mobility. And the same thing with the outbreak of this pests and diseases that is causing issues in agricultural activities. So there is regulations that are, and there is methods how to prevent the transboundary and emerging agriculture and food system threat. And there'll be always something new. Address the need for coherent and effective national and international governance. So there will be a global regulations how to address this outbreak of this pest and disease issues. So those are the challenges. How about the solutions? So a solution probably that we can start to think about the future sustainable agriculture. We start thinking about agriculture 4.0. So we talk about agriculture 4.0 is we start thinking about integrated farming, integrated agriculture. And in United States, the talk about integrated farming has started in the 1990, that is the Farm Bill. So the integrated system for plant animal production, the goal is that for the long term, that is over the long term, to satisfy the human food needs. And we want to make sure that it enhances environmental quality. And then we want to make the most of non-renewable energy sources. Basically, we want to make it non-renewable energy to be very efficient, or we want to also to minimize the use of that. Also, the sustained economic viability of farming operation. Maybe we want to make it economically efficient. And same time also, for this integrated system to enhance the quality of life. It means that for people who are working in the agriculture to also be better off, to be supported with this integrated farming. So the challenge for agricultural 4.0 is that how to produce 70% more food by 2050 while utilizing less energy, less fertilizer, less pesticide, so while lowering the levels of greenhouse gas. And then at the same time, also the farming technology need to be able to cope with climate change. So we have old technologies that they need to be maximized. And now also the new technologies must be generated. So those will be the challenges that maybe for the young people, the students now, the future leaders need to think about. So talking about agricultural 4.0, it is that, but also involve what is this? Involve logistics. Okay, so it logistics that the next big trend is how to drive the greater business efficiency. Okay, so basically efficiency from the production of plants to the processing to the consumption has to be very efficient, with energy reduction, and also about how to minimize the waste, the greenhouse gas emissions. So in agriculture 4.0, we need to look at both the demand side, also look at the value chain supply side of the food scarcity equation. So we need to focus on how the food scarcity can be removed. Agricultural and agro-industry, they're along value chains from plantation, from production of the seeds, the plantation cultivation, harvesting, transportation, storage, processing, and then the consumption. So we need to be able to make all the chains to be equally strong. If one step of the value chain doesn't work, the entire value of the value chain doesn't work. So typically, is the crowd move with based on the weakest one. Okay, so the success of agriculture of an agro industry is dependent on the weakest link in the value chains. So the question for us is that which one of these steps that is currently is the weakest link. So to address that, the future farming technologies, we need to address the real needs of consumer, and then re-engineer value chains, all those chains. We need to, some trends include the greater focus on precision agriculture. So the utilizing enough water, enough fertilizer, just enough, not excess, not being wasteful. And the utilization of the Internet of Things, that is also becoming big, the use of big data. And the challenge also, it must be a green one with science, focusing on science and technology. Some example is in horticulture, for growing plants, they use sensor for the pH, the amount of water, temperature, and utilizing all the data that's available. Another possibility is that, for example, that reducing utilizing the meat, and then because then cows, for example, that produce a lot of greenhouse gas, and we can make a meat substitute from the plants. So that could be a future agricultural technologies. And then in urban farming, indoor vertical farming technologies, will reduce that utilizing spaces in the big cities, then utilizing that for growing food. So that will reduce the needs for transportation from a faraway place. Okay, so you can grow plants regardless of the weather outside, basically. And then the challenge is how to make this energy efficient or water efficient. Another possibility is that the seawater greenhouse, for example. So how to utilize seawater to grow foods in the arid regions, for example, in sub-Saharan Africa, utilizing seawater and then use that for watering, and also to create the correct climate in the greenhouse. Another solution this is the last one, that is about circular economy.
Dr. Satrio, another 2 minutes.
Okay, I will be more done. Thank you. So the circular economy in agriculture is from farms to bioenergy and products. So basically, that is for the operation of the agriculture. We need all these resources, and then all this logistics, and we need to for these food products. So the future agriculture, not only producing the food products, but also producing non-food products. That is reducing the reliance to the fossil fuels. So is a future agriculture, also there will be a need of synergy of sustainable agriculture and bioenergy productions. So bioenergy and biomaterials can be used to support the sustainable agriculture. So a good synergy between biomass producers and biomass processors is very critical. One technology is that, for example, that how to utilize all the waste. Our society is very wasteful. So how to utilize this all various waste that can be utilized into something that is useful for energy or for biomaterials. All right, so I would like to conclude my talk by the takeaway that maybe you would like to have with you is that this slide. All this, the goal of sustainable development is a prosperous world based on equity, fairness, and justice. That is, in order for that to happen, we need to have a strong water, energy, food nexus. That is part of the task to reach sustainable development. And that's going to be, to reach this, we need to have this blueprint for global concerted efforts. And in analyzing all this, we need to have assessment from the STIC perspective, not only just one, but then also from this very social, technology, economy, environmental, and politics. So this will be the takeaway that I would like you to have from this presentation. All right, my time is up. So if you have any question or comments, you can reach out to me, and this is my information. Thank you so much.
Very much, Dr. Satrio. Your presentation is very interesting and updated information we heard from you, especially on sustainable agriculture and agroindustry. And the most core factor that we have to aware is population increase. I think will be a very good discussion later on. However, we have to move to another presenter. Is Professor Randy Stringer here? Okay, thank you. Welcome, Professor Stringer. Thank you very much for your coming to this stream. Professor Randy Stringer is a person from, just a minute, I will, yeah, okay, thank you. Randy Stringer is coming from the Center of Global Food and Resources, the University of Adelaide. And also he is a professor in agriculture and food policy at the University of Adelaide. Randy spent 11 years with FAO, Agriculture and Development Economic Division, including 4 as Director of the Comparative Studies Service, producing FAO's flagship publication, The State of Food and Agriculture. Over the past 30 years, Randy has taught, published, and conducted research on rural development, food security, and natural resources policy in Southeast Asia, Africa, Europe, and Near East and Latin America. Randy considers his 25 years of research collaboration with Indonesian college and close friends at ICASEPS, IPB, and Pajajaran University among the most important and rewarding experience of his career. So Randy, 10 minutes is yours. Welcome to the screen, and the screen is yours. I think the sound is still low.
Hi, no. Can you hear me? I'm just putting on the, try to share my screen here. There we go. All right. Good morning, everyone. Selamat siang. It's not late here in Australia. It's midday, but I've been working up north of Adelaide, about 300-400 kilometers the last week, and so I had to drive into a town in Clare, and I'm parked in a little area, a little Melrose Park, it's called. So I'm in my car. That's my backdrop this morning. So, but it's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to be able to engage in the conversations that are going on that I think are so important. And I hope that what I can do might be able to add a little bit to the kinds of issues that have been raised in the 2 previous speakers. So how, you know, what I'd like us to think about in terms of agriculture, especially smallholder agriculture in Indonesia, how does that fit in a way that meets these SDG goals 2030, that takes into consideration Professor Satrio's issue of that water, energy, food nexus, but does it in a way that's also core to the SDGs, which is inclusive agriculture. So all of us, many of us describe and think about inclusive in different ways. So first, let me just start off talking about what inclusive means to me and how it's changed over time, because I think, you know, for the past 15 or 20 years, at least, inclusive development has become just a key part, because over time, we learn that we can have economic growth, but if that economic growth doesn't benefit lower income, food insecure households, then it really doesn't contribute to development. So we need to be able to address a growth that includes benefits for the food insecure and the poverty. So that was one part. So initially, our big focus was on in the research and our policy design, how do we get production up? How do we get yields up? And how do we get productivity up? And then gradually, as we've heard this morning, how much that's changed, what our expectations are from our agriculture sector. So we wanted to address much broader goals than just production. We want those sustainable development issues and inclusive issues included. So agriculture isn't just to promote rural livelihoods, but also urban poverty. Because if agriculture can become more productive and deliver food at prices that are lower all the time, then those real incomes in those the urban poor go up, because they have to work fewer hours to earn money to buy their food, the same amount of food. So we have that expectation. Beyond that, now we want it to impact nutrition outcomes, health outcomes, the quality of our food, the diversity and safety. We know that good nutrition is going to impact learning outcomes in our schools. So nutrition is important. It's not just the number of calories that we eat, but it's the composition of those calories. So we have those expectations. And then we have the landscape benefits and the environmental services. It's not just a product that landscape has to protect. It has to protect the water. It has to protect the water supply, the soil erosion. So we expect those agriculture producers and those agricultural landscapes to produce more than just a crop. We want it to produce carbon and good water outcomes and many other ecosystem services. So what have we learned over this time? Well, we do know that agriculture growth is good for poverty reduction, both rural and urban. In fact, of all the sectors, the service sector and the manufacturing industrial sector and agriculture sector, it's only agriculture that contributes to poverty reduction in both the urban and the rural sectors. But we also know that you have to have growth to reduce poverty, but you also, to address gender and income inequalities, if you have those, it's bad for poverty reduction. So you need to be thinking about that inclusiveness if you're thinking about sustainability, because both you can create additional income inequalities and additional gender imbalances unless you're thinking that through. Then we also know that, in much of the talks this morning, we see the information related to that is how important human capital development is. If we want a sustainable agriculture, if we want our producers to compete in the Internet of Everything, to adopt these technologies, they need to have human capital. They need to have that infrastructure and development and to understand. So those things are all tied in. And then we need the public investments in those and the incentives for nutrition and health that we can develop human capital. So that's sort of the background I want to lay down there. When we start thinking about now, how do we design and target for inclusive food systems? And in particular, I'll look and talk a little bit about just value chains, because the logistics and everything we heard in the previous talk by Dr. Satrio set that up quite well. And so it's a nice segue into looking at agro-food systems, but what role can small holders play in that food, in those value chains? And how can those value chains support the kinds of outcomes we want with environment and climate change? Now I'm going to go quickly past this slide, but I'm going to come back to it in just a few minutes when my time's up, because what I'm concerned about is what we're doing in Indonesia is thinking so much about production, about our export targets, about our production targets. And we have a system that is the retail trade, the retail markets, the food system, those major global and Indonesian companies that have so much influence on the value chains, they're modernized, they're way past this. So we're designing with this production system, we're designing policies, commodity-based policies for a 2020 food system, and they're not integrating properly. And I want us to think about that and what that means, because if we're going to lay down innovation, we need to be having policies that support and tie into those things. Okay, so let's think about the sociodynamics. What are inclusive value chains for smallholders? So again, thinking about all these things we want to include. Well, we've heard for sure we want to include social, environmental, and income in these. The first two speakers beat me to that, and there they are right there, and it's hugely important. All of us think about it. But we will also have to remember we want to be inclusive of a big set of diverse farmers. These are not homogeneous smallholder households, and that's the way we're looking at them. I really should have inclusive of heterogeneous farmers there. My point that I'm concerned about is that we're always thinking about small farmers as this one unit. They're all alike. And I want to show you some evidence that shows how different they are that's going to help us. It looks daunting, but at the same time, I think it really, if once we know that, it gives us information about how to include the different kinds of smallholders and what they do. We want to be inclusive of gender impacts and the pathways that income leads to the kinds of outcomes that you want. We have to think about that a lot because we know from evidence that's emerging in many countries around the world that are thought about just providing income to a household. You can provide it to anyone and you get the outcome you want. And that's not necessarily the case. So we've got to be careful about that. And then we have to be inclusive of value chain partners, because if the hundreds of thousands of smallholder cocoa, rubber, cinnamon, oil palm, chili, all these producers are trying to increase the value of what they do, their costs may go up, but they can be rewarded for getting certain attributes in their products. So getting these partners together will help in terms of the income, but also the different partners. If you just think back a minute when we saw those different levels and the different areas of distribution and the processing and the retailing and the food waste, when you bring all of those partners together in a food chain, they can help solve so many more issues for everyone than just making more profit. They can help us understand climate change actions that will help us address the issues of lower carbon and better energy efficiency and using biomass. So we need all these partners at the table. So being inclusive is going to be really important. Okay. Now, what I want to do now, just for a minute, is set everybody up, because this, my two take home are first, the importance of these value chains and how we need to be thinking about it. But second, the importance for all of us to move away from this idea that there's this homogeneous smallholder household in Indonesia. So over the past 15 years with colleagues at ITB, Professor Sahara, Supre, Eka, Arif, just working with IPRI and ICRAF, our colleagues at ICASEPS, the Ministry of Agriculture, Socioeconomic Policy, Ahmad, Suryana, Talim, Eridodo. We've been doing enormous number of maybe 15, 20,000 household surveys we have, some stacked over time, to look at chili producers and coffee and cinnamon and rice and shallot across East Java, West Java, Central Java, Jambi, Riau, Lombok. So what we're learning is very similar in terms of these households across all of them. And when we look at the census, and the census as well, on average, a household has half a hectare. Well, it's very, very different. When you look at all those households, randomly selected households, you find out that no, 50% of the households only manage 15% of the land. Okay, so that's a pretty important piece of information when we're starting to target areas that to help to get the kinds of non-production values that we want, the soil erosion issue, and where are they? So that also means that 25% of all the smallholders manage 65% of the landscape out there, the agricultural landscape. So those are huge differences. Even though they're all small, it's still the situation. Now, 50% of the households, half those households have only 0.2 hectares of a land. That's all they're controlling, not half a hectare. That's like 3 times more land that we say the smallholders have than they actually have. 50% have 1.1 hectare. Okay, so there's a big diversity there that we need to be thinking about as we design our policies. And also, while we all know that land markets are very sluggish, households don't want to sell their land. It's too important. But you know what? They rent like crazy. Every one of our farmers, the majority of them rent land. They rent it every single year. And we're using none of the technology that we have to help those rental markets thrive, because not all these farmers with only 0.2 hectare, their income might be quite low. 33% of the farmers earn 80% of their income from farming, but 2/3 earn less than 15% of their income from farming. So we've got this situation with thinking about design where we can focus on supporting those farmers that really concentrate on farming. They can expand 1, 2, 3 hectares and become much more scale-oriented and adapt more environmental friendly practices, and because you can target and support their human capital development. So that's a really important thing. Now, if we want to talk about policies and programs, I think, to facilitate value chain development in Indonesia, there's several broad measures that I think are important. The first is this massive change we've seen in 15 years. In all our surveys, we ask all these farmers, where do they get their information? Who helps them? How do they get training? How do they learn to terrace, to mulch, to plant a certain crop, when to water, when to fertilize, how much to fertilize? Less than 3% are ever able to see an expert from the Ministry of Agriculture because there's so many of them, right? Most of them, 60% of them are learning from their parents, or they're learning from their neighbors, lead farmers who they watch and do really well. And so then they adopt those practices. Not anymore. The last 5 years, all our surveys are showing these farmers call themselves Google farmers. They're like all the rest of youngsters now. They say, no, my dad has no idea what he's doing. I go to Google and I learn how to plant tomatoes and how to stake them out, and I'm learning this stuff. So there's a huge opportunity in terms of using the internet to reach thousands of farmers in all kinds of different ways. So I think it's something really important for us to think about. And as part of that, you could facilitate these land rental markets. Right now, we know East West Seeds uses an app that helps vegetable farmers to know something about their soil conditions through the app. They can learn what other farmers are doing. So if one everybody's planting big red chili, then another farmer says, well, I'm not planting that. I know the supply is going to go down. So it's a huge information source, but why not add to that information source people that I want to rent my half a hectare this year, or for the next 2 years, or for the next 3 years. So a huge opportunity for us to set up for that kind of innovation to push forward. The second thing, and this is my second big important takeaway that comes back to that production issue, is really, if the government wants to increase value of exports, they really don't need, they'll get their biggest bang from focusing on quality of cocoa and coffee and chilies and other products. Because if you take what's happening in much of the rest of the world, and not as much in Indonesia does have it, but not at the scale of other countries. All the retail chocolate makers, all the retail coffee roasters cannot get their hands on enough high quality cocoa from Indonesia or coffee. Now, a coffee tree, what's happening is they'll go pick the tree, they'll pick 25% of what they pick are green cherries that are thrown away. Instead of picking 3 or 4 times a month, they'll pick twice a month, maybe once a month. So things are wasted. If they just pick the red, yes, it takes more, but you're going to make a whole lot more money because you're going to make 25 to 30% more at that level on your cherries. And there's lots of people already in Indonesia that have the capacity to help with this, and programs going on. Pak Tejo at Ranin Coffee is an example of someone who works across these areas to support, and he's being pulled in by provincial level. So focusing on quality first, getting the price up, production takes care of itself. Farmers start making lots of money off this and they go, okay, how do I get more production? How do I get my yields higher? They'll do it themselves. We don't have to come tell them what our target is this year. They'll be taking care of it for us. And then lots of market information apps that we need to take better advantage of. So For the value chain specific issues, I would think that we could start designing using these systems of platforms where you get these different actors together. They understand what the issues facing the producers, the researchers, the input suppliers, the distributors, cold storage issues, whatever it might be. If you get them together, they start sharing information. There's lots of collaboration that goes on. So we need more of those initiatives. And what we've learned is including villages and district leaders at this level, because they're closest to what the issues are in their area, and they need to be part of this platform. And they have money. They have money from the federal government that they can invest in roads, or they can invest in a coffee washing station. So having them as part of that process can mean a lot. And then also develop it with provincial support. The work we're doing, we're finding out that, you know, we're getting huge attention to our research from the West Java province and South Sumatra and Jambi, because they're very keen on seeing what they might be able to do to get these value chains working. Where at the national level, there's much broader questions that the government is involved in. We have to have policy dialogues at the national level, but we need a lot more for these value chains to work. We need to get more provincial support. And then there's so much existing talent. I just mentioned Pak Tejo at Run Coffee. These guys are doing all kinds of training. There's the slang now for this, they call it pre-collaborative competition. So getting normally what you would think is a lot of coffee roasters that may be competitive against each other, but they will collaborate to support these programs, because they see that if there's more good high quality coffee available, if they're going to export it or they're going to roast it for the Jakarta or the Bogor market, that they're going to make a tremendous amount of money. So I think those are the main issues. I hope I've been able to stick to my time, but for my final slide, I want to come back to this area, because this slide to show the conversation about reaching the SDG goals, about addressing inclusiveness and making part of that inclusiveness the kinds of things we heard from the first two speakers about addressing these sustainable development goals have to be part of that discussion with these systems, whether you're thinking of innovation platforms along a value chain, or you're working on how to support specific technologies for smallholder use, or your processors or traders. So this concern, I think we need to have a wider conversation about, to think about how modern that the food system really is, but maybe our policy is focusing on so much on commodities is falling behind and can't keep up as well. So thank you all very much for the time. I appreciate it.
Friendly Stringer, for your valuable information, especially you touch with gender issues. It's very good issues in Indonesia, and the focus on transition of or to a new strategic framework. That is very useful for us. Ladies and gentlemen, now come to the question and answer session. I have at the moment, I have 3 questions from Professor Nastiti. There are 2 questions, one to Dr. Satrio and Professor Anas, and from Ferry Surya Hendrawan, I think it's going to be answered by Professor Anas. Okay, so you may see on the screen, that is the questions, and I'm waiting for the question directed to Professor Randy Stringer, and the participant may put your question on the chat column. So for the first one from Professor Nastiti Siswi Industry from ITB University, question directed to Professor Anas: how did ITB evaluate the activities to achieve the targeted SDG number 1, and how to make it sustain? Oh, and maybe I read also for Dr. Satrio. To achieve the SDG, no hunger, what is the effective strategy to distribute the WEF across the world more human and proportionally? Do you think that international government will make it possible or will make worse? So that is the two questions to Professor Anas and Professor Satrio. Professor Anas, you can have the time first.
Okay, thank you, moderator. So thank you for the question from Professor Nastiti. So this is why I recommend in the last slide that we need to have so-called the dashboard, because I think each program they must have a system to monitor or to evaluate the how to achieve the target of the SDG number 1. For example, Sekolah Peternakan Rakyat or the school for the community of animal husbandry. And also, I think some of the program like what we been doing for the people living surrounding the campus, we have several programs actually to support the national program to eradicate the poverty. There are several programs like developing of small scale enterprises. And also mentioned by Professor Randy Sringer that we will not achieve the target of eradicating the poverty without growth. So we try to also introduce some of the method to have a better production of agriculture. So I think each of the activity they must have the system to evaluate how they can achieve the target of improving the family income. But what I would like to actually propose to IPB is that we have a system to monitor or all of the activities, so then we can have we set up the target, how many people that we can support to improve their family income and how we achieve that one. So, and then with that target, then we set up a program and the program will be conducted collectively. So, Bu Illah, if I may, I also would like to later answer the second question because this is related with the question number 1. Thank you. Is it okay to follow the answer for the question number 2, Bu Illah?
From Panas, to Panas.
Yeah. Okay. So, so this is related with the question number 1. So from Ferry Surya, thank you for the question. So how to actually involve everybody, especially the student? I think students already been involved through we call it KKN, the program that give opportunity to students to help the people in the rural area. So in that case also, I think students will involve in achieving some of the SDG target. They can educate the people how to plant better the agriculture. They can educate the people how to read or to know about the climate change and to respond, to be adaptive on the climate change, and some other like in the health and etc. So and all are actually already recorded in the platform. We have a sustainability platform of IPB. You can check in the website. Yeah. Sustainability.ipb.ac.id. You can see all of the activity recorded there related with the SDG. And again, as I mentioned, that we need to have a so-called the dashboard. And the dashboard can be shown to all of the IPB members, and we know how we achieve the targeted SDGs and how we can actually contribute to that. Yeah. I hope this answers all of the questions. Thank you.
Okay. So before to pass Satrio, let me use my authority to give the time for Randy Stringer who answer the question from Ranzi Kalikur. Should I read the questions? Okay. Yeah. This is the question from Ranzi Kalikur Rahman to Professor Randy Stringer. If you may see on the screen, Prof Stringer, and need the answer. Randy, are you still there?
Hey, yes, I'm leaving my battery's going down, so I'm leaving my video off, but can you hear me okay?
Okay.
Yes. So listen, this idea, Ramzi, is a great question because it's key to have these farmer shops. And it's one of the things that Tejo, if you're in Bogor, stop out running coffee and have a visit with him, because he really makes sure that, like for the coffee producers, let's use that again as an example, he needs for the coffee growers to understand the kinds of coffee that the market pays the most for. So he trains them how to taste that coffee. And for them then to set up shops that they can connect with people and learn more. Not only is it a kiosk, a warung where they can earn money, maybe have food that they sell, but also it's such a great opportunity there for them to learn. So farmers shops for local farmers, if that's the idea that you're talking about, which is, I just think it's a great one, and it's really important to support those. So there are ways that, again, at the village level and the provincial district level, Kecamatan level, that's where I think we can pull support in to help that. You could have it like farmers markets, or you could just have groups of farmers that are able to do that. So yeah, great question, and thank you for that. And again, thanks for the time. My batteries, I apologize so much. I'll be able to pick back up on the recording later and see what else is happening. So thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Randy. And now the time for Dr. Satrio to answer the questions.
Okay, thank you for the question to Bu Nastiti. The question is that let's see, it's about zero hunger. The question is that what is the effective strategy to distribute water, energy, food nexus across the world more humanly and proportionally? That's a very good question, and then also it is a difficult question to answer. The issue with water, energy, food nexus that those resources. The main issue that I see is the maldistribution. So it's not evenly distributed. There's a community societies, for example, that is in United States, very wealthy country. There are a lot of excess in food, energy, and and even, but within the country itself, there is also there is a pockets of very poor communities. They do not have clean water. They do not have enough nutrition, food. So the issue is in some parts of the world is not because of the lacking of the food or clean water or energy, but is this the distribution issue. And so when we talk about water, energy, food nexus and how they can be distributed proportionally, so we need to look back about sustainability. Sustainability happens when the society is thriving, and then society is thriving because of there's a strong human capital. They are healthy, they are educated, they are able to support themselves, and they can create their own economy. supported by strong economy, and then also the environment that is where they live also supporting them. So there are how the places where people are starving, people do not have access to clean water, they do not have enough food, can be because of they have not supported by, do not have economy, they are very poor. Also, for example, probably could be, for example, in sub-Saharan Africa, in some other part of the world where the environment, the land itself is not supporting them to grow their own food. So is the international government, that is the goal of this United Nations, for example, FAO, for example, they can do the good work by providing this some regulations, incentives probably, and then the main thing is that how to be able to first providing food and water and energy to this needy society, but at the same time also there should be a way or efforts to make them able to stand on their own feet. So make them to be stronger in produce their own food, they produce their own capital also, and also the environment. For example, that the one that I showed you earlier, an example for future farming in sub-Saharan Africa, they provide water in order for them to grow food, for example. Okay, so the way to do it is first is that to the needy society to provide them with the fish. Just think about like the fish to make them be able to survive, but at the same time also try to provide them with education, to teach them, to give them the fishing rod for them to be able to fish, to be able to fish by themselves. Okay, so the point is that we start with providing them to help them, but also we have to enable them. Okay, that would be that's my answer, Gunastiti.
From Denny Hasnan to Professor Satrio.
Okay. Okay, the question thank you for the question, Pak Denny Hasnan. What is the strategy for balancing population growth and increasing food demand with a more rapid reduction in agricultural land, and how to measure this in evaluation of sustainability? Okay, that is a great question, and then it will population growth will increase. Okay, so then is it will continue to increase, but then the challenge in population growth probably the imbalance. There's the big population growth probably will happen in the places, for example, in Africa, for example, in South Asia, where the location of the food, for example, is they already poor to start with. So the strategy to balancing population growth and the food demands is first then how to be able to, related to my first answer, my answer to the first question is that how to be able to distribute this food more proportionally. Okay, and then with the demand with rapid reduction in agricultural land, then increase the food means that we have to be able to develop technologies, to develop methods, how in order for us to grow more food in the limited land. Okay, so the challenge is that to be more productive, increase the yield of the crops per hectare, per area. At the same time also is that we will able to manage to maintain the health of our environment. That is to use energy efficiently, minimizing the use of energy, minimizing the use of water, minimizing the production of waste or greenhouse gas emission, for example. So the question on how to measure the evaluation of sustainability, then we can evaluate them from the health of the society itself. So how, I think related to the first question is that how to enable the society to whether, are they healthy? Are they productive? And so that can be, I think that can be used to evaluate the sustainability. But the economy, okay? So the economy of the society in that particular area, are they strong? Also, the quality of the environment, is that degrading or is that improving? Okay. So I think there is a way to evaluate those three components of sustainability. Thank you.
Professor Satrio and also Professor Anas Fauzi and Professor Stringer for your presentation and answer the questions. Ladies and gentlemen, we finally come to the end of the seminar. Before I close the seminar, I would like to take a conclusion from what the speakers has presented. From Professor Anas, he raised about the SDGs implementation in ITB universities, and SDGs issues has been responded by government of Republic of Indonesia. Policy have been made by ITB University as a ministry degree, IPB degree and also Rector and academic senate. IPB has implemented through many activities. However, there is still remain the homework, especially stating in the recommendation to increase the low carbon society in IPB, research promotion in SDGs, and SDGs for introductory courses for the students. Thank you very much, Professor Anas. And from Professor Satrio, he raises issues on thinking about sustainability. And also the important thing for the students is the offer for making the research or involving the research in steep approach with the Professor Satrio. And there is another thing, the core factor is population increase. It means that the solution has been made as a sustainable agriculture has to be integrated agriculture, coping with climate change. Success in agro-industry is dependent on the weakest link in the value chains. So this is our homework too. Good synergy between biomass process and bioenergy. And thank you, Professor Satrio, and come to Professor Stringer as rise about the reduces property by using development of the human resource and income inequalities by using the investment and incentive for nutrition, health, and education. The important thing from Professor Stringer is the transition to a new strategic framework. I'd like to thank to the speakers for informative and interesting presentation, and all participants for the very active participation. Finally, let's give applause for the speaker and for you all. Thank you very much, and please stay with us for the next part. Thank you to all the speakers. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you.
Ada suaranya itu Bu Illah. I cannot hear you.
Hello?
Moderator.
Hello, this is Guillermo Baigorria here. Can you hear me?
Oh, Guillermo,
hear me?
yes.
Hey, hello.
Oh, my name is Chandra Guillermo.
Hey, Chandra, how are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Nice to hear from you.
Yeah, nice to hear. Yeah.
How is the family?
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent. Yeah, welcome in our seminar.
Ayandra, can you
Always
hear
my
me?
pleasure.
Yes, now I can hear you, Bu Illah.
Okay, thank
Ibu
you.
Moderator.
And the second one is Professor Vincent Rodin from Université de Bretagne Occidentale, France. And the third one is Professor Yukie Saito from the University of Tokyo, Japan. Without further ado, I will invite Dr. Guillermo Baigorria. He is Director of Research and Development in Next Season System, LLC, USA. And he had developed artificial intelligence system transparently offered through new digital tools to support farmer decision-making on land management and creation, development, prototyping, and manufacturing of proximal sensing device and sensor to feed AI and mobile application that also developed. Okay, I think this will be interesting presentation because a lot of revolution technology 4.0 here by Guillermo Baigorria. The times is 10 minutes and we are going to have discussion afterwards after 3 speakers presented, and the screen is yours.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much to the organizers for allowing me to present some of the things we are developing here in Next Season Systems. Let me share my, I always have problems with this one. Screen, okay, share, okay. Okay, there it is. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, thank you again for allowing me to be here with you. It's midnight here in Nebraska. I should be sleeping, but hopefully I will be doing good.
Excuse me,
today I'm going to present...
excuse me for Guillermo. Can you raise your voice, please? Increase your
absolutely.
voice.
Okay.
Make it louder.
A little closer. That's perfect.
Okay.
Is that okay? That's good. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so today I'm going to present this title, commercially available integrated proximal sensing and artificial intelligence systems in agriculture. Basically, what we're in the previous presentations, we have very nice ideas, concepts, so to the vision to the future, what we need to do in order to do something sustainable in agriculture. So now what I'm going to show you is what we already are using, okay, in using this high tech into the fields, especially in South America where we are working right now. But the idea is to move anywhere, in the world in the next few years. So basically, the mission of the company is to create and develop integrated software and hardware systems to support decision-making in agriculture. So basically, we are talking about integrated software and hardware, okay? So we are talking about we are creating devices, new sensors that are making observations in real time, and these are managed by artificial intelligence systems, okay? And also, when we're talking about decision-making, we are not talking only about farmers. We are talking about associations, communities, authorities, regional, country-level authorities in agriculture, banks, insurance and reinsurance companies, etc. Okay, so it's everything related to agricultural in general. So the question that we focus as a business is, and now what do I do? That's the question that the farmer has every day on his mind. No, so we have climate change. We have new technology like drones, for instance, market prices moving high and low. And the question is, and now what I do? No, for instance, climate change. There is a lot of scenarios made by a lot of research and scientists around the world. What will happen with the food security, with the food chain, etc. But the farmer is still thinking, okay, and what about me? Do I need to change from one crop to another? If I change to another crop, what I do? Because I don't know these other crops, right? We have technologies like drones, for instance, and you have very nice pictures of your fields in all the spectrums you want, in visual, in infrared, in ultraviolet, gamma, etc. But only few of them become operative in the field, in the game of decision making. Okay. What we have done in our business is I don't know if you can see this. Okay, we have moved from data to information, okay, and to decisions. Okay, we have created several sensors, several devices to measure and observe weather, diseases, pests, irrigation, everything that is communicated, no, in real time to our artificial intelligence systems, 5 of them here in Nebraska, and 2 of them in the apps, in the applications, in the cell phones of the farmer. No, so what we do is basically again go from data. Many devices that are already commercially, but they just only make the observation and give you the data. So for instance, we have a weather station that gives you a point. It gives you 13.7 Celsius. That data per se gives no information at all to anybody, okay? So what happened is that we take that data, for instance, and to transform it into information, we said, okay, now you have, let's say, 213.7 cumulative degree days, okay, from the beginning of your emergency of your crop. So that data now is integrated in a chain of numbers, okay, which are transformed as a cumulative degree data into a physiological, okay, a response from the plant. That's his information, but still only few people can transform that information in a decision. If I tell a farmer you have a 13.7 accumulated degrees, they do nothing with that. So now what we do is transforming decision. What it means is, imagine that we have a flowering in 230 degrees, okay, accumulated degrees. So basically you are just how many, 13 degrees closer to flowering. Then it comes the decision, okay? So you need to apply now some fertilizer, a phosphorus fertilizer, because that will push the flowering in your crops, okay? So that number transformed in information, and the next step was in the decision, what the farmer can do with that information, okay? And this is our topic in this presentation, okay? One of our tools is, as I mentioned, we have 7 AIs, artificial intelligence systems. 2 are already programmed in the app, that name is Agris, and the other 5 in our servers here in Nebraska. And one of them, the AIs in the app is this one, the base, that gives you the basic fertilization, the secondary elements and micronutrients, and if necessary, the limit requirements, okay? But what is most important is that it gives you the balanced fertilization, okay? This is important, balanced fertilization according to the crop needs and the nutrients already available in the soil, okay? So basically, the farmer introduced the soil analysis, okay? Give some management practices, what is he or she is planning to do during the cropping season, and then the AI give you these results. And again, what is important is to apply the balance, for example, between nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Because if you apply too much from these 2, for instance, and this phosphorus become the limiting factor. So all the extra nutrients for nitrogen and potassium, in the example, you put into the land are lost. And they are not only lost, but they become pollution, okay, and contaminants in the water tables, rivers, in the lowlands, etc. So it's very important, this approach. Now, we also have these automatic soil moisture monitoring systems at different depths and irrigation scheduling recommendations. So there are many of these automatic sensors for measuring soil moisture. No? Some more automatic than others. No? But what is important is that usually all of them give you how much of volumetric water you have in your soil. For example, they say you have 80% of volumetric water. That's good. So it means you need to irrigate 20%, right? Correct. But what it means 20%? Okay, I need to, as a farmer, I need to open the valve or my pump and start pumping how much water. Okay, so basically the AIs use the inputs from these sensors and give not only when, okay, but also how much of irrigation is needed, which depends on the crop, it depends on the soil, the root depth, etc. There we have other tools like these insect damage projections and best spraying dates. We have some sensors like the instrument like this one you see on the screen that is capable to do the counting of insects every day, okay, in the fields, and that information fits the AIs in order to make decisions to produce this percentage of harvest losses relative to the spraying date. Okay, what happens is that usually for best management practices for the application of pesticides, insecticides in this case, the farmer or the employees or they maybe hire a company to go to the field every 10 days or 15 days in order to count the number of insects, okay, per square meter. And this is a very tedious, take a lot of time, and it's very expensive. No? So in this case, this device is counting every day what is happening and automatically feeding the information to the AIs. And in this case, we have this type of curves. For example, imagine that today is September 5th, right? And it's telling that if you apply today, no, with this given number of insects this instrument counted, you will have 0% of losses. If you wait two days, it's with 1 and so on. Till you wait 12 days, you will be losing 10% of your production. Okay. Sometimes the curve is flat, so it doesn't matter if you apply or not the insecticide. But other times, this curve is quite a steep step, slope. And the issue is that there is a lot of interactions between the host, no, the plant, and the insect. The population dynamics of the insects and also the status of the crop. The crop is in what in phenological state, is in the, under stress, heat stress, water stress, etc. And basically what will happen in the next few days, okay? And how the population of insects and the crop will behave during these few days. So putting just a number of insects per square meter in order to trigger a spray application of an insecticide is not enough, because the system is very complex, no? And this is why we developed these tools would help in a very dynamic way to the farmers to make decisions about when to make the application of insecticides. Other things, for instance, is the fungus diseases, very important. In the case of insects, you can see, the farmer can see the insect, right? Can see the insects or can see the damage. In the case of fungus diseases, there is a problem. When the farmers already see the fungus problem, it's too late. Okay, the plant is already contaminated, okay, infected, sorry, and the farmer already lost from 20 to 80% of the production, okay? What happens is we need to try to create a monitoring system, okay, with this device that is capable to monitor the ecophytoecologic conditions inside the crop, inside the canopy, where the fungus is growing. Okay, so right now for this type of monitoring, people are using the leaf wetness sensors. Okay, and the problem for that sensor is usually attached to a weather station. Imagine you have two coffee crops. Okay, one which is very nice pruned and the other one is not. No, and in the middle you have the weather station with your leaf wetness sensor. The problem is that the same sensor is giving information or a warning system for both fields. And if you go to the field, the unpruned field is totally with fungus and the other is not. Okay, so the same sensor is giving one forecast for both of them. Okay, and this is why we produce this system, though we put it inside. And basically this system, what it does is it's transfer the information to the cloud, and from the cloud to the app. Okay, this is what the farmers see in the app. Also to our systems here in Nebraska. And basically, if there is an emergency, whether it is the conditions that will trigger in this case, a coffee rust, for example, it will send not only the farmer not only will be able to see in the app, but also it will send automatically a message, okay, to the text of to the cell phone of the farmer to make the decisions, and you will see what type of a message it sends. We also have this weather stations, okay, that is sending information every 5 minutes, okay. Many of you will say, okay, why do I need every 5 minutes information, okay? And the issue is related to the among many other things. At the time you apply a pesticide, okay, as you spray a pesticide, you can lose up to a 60%, okay, of your application because of not bad environmental conditions, usually related to temperature, humidity, and wind. Okay, so we have an alert in this case every 5 minutes, and it's changing. No, you have these two. I don't know if you noticed in the previous film, which is this screen, is giving two indexes, no, that change every 5 minutes. It's the H represents for hormonal pesticides, and the other one for non-hormonal pesticides. Okay, so basically it tells you, no, if the conditions are perfect for the application. You have a green, it's like a traffic light. You have a yellow in the case of, okay, look, these are not suboptimal conditions. You can apply if you want, but take care. And if you have red color, it's basically forget about, don't apply because you will be losing. And this is very important, especially in the hormonal case, no, because in the hormonal case, for example, if you have a thermal inversion in your field, okay, the agrochemical will be concentrated in your field and will kill it. And if you are even more unlucky, okay, the wind will move it to the neighbor and will kill also that field. Okay, so the loose, and this is reality. It happens a lot, especially with hormonal herbicides. We also have sometimes some other tools like this one: best planting dates and variety selections, a seasonal climate forecast for the next 9 months. We compare with also some historical data for those who wants to work with climate change, for example, and also freeze and heat stress risk forecast.
Excuse me, Prof, the time is 1 minute more.
Perfect. So this is the type of crop management that we have, no? Basically, in this case, is giving the AIs send this information. We have a 1.4 tons per acre for calcium carbonate, for example, is the recommended amount of rainfall irrigation that it needs to apply, etc. And this is the type of early warning system which is sent automatically by AIs that in the case of fungus diseases. In this case, is for the proliferation of soy Asian rust, no? And this is recommending, no, the spray of a combination of these agrochemicals. So basically, our solutions apply to a wide range of farming scales, from agro-export companies to small and medium producers, associations and cooperatives. This is very related to the comments from the previous presenters. And what is important is that as a company, we have reached a level where we are integrating real-time monitoring data, no? Past, weather, seasonal climate forecast, future, that is used by the artificial intelligence system who are capable to translate it into decisions farmers using their day-by-day activities. So the last message is basically, it's not longer a dream, it is a reality. Many farmers are already using it. Thank you very much for your time. And with this, I finish my presentation, and I need to return the stop share. There it is.
Wow, extraordinary presentation. Thank you very much, Dr. Baigorria, for giving us such interesting presentation, especially on smart farming. Please stay with us because maybe someone will ask the questions. However, now allow me to welcome the second speaker, Professor Vincent Rodin, to deliver his presentation. Is there any?
Yes, hello.
Professor Rodin?
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Who is
Hello.
Professor Rodin?
How are you?
Professor Vincent Rodin is a full professor of computer science, University of Brest, France, and his research activities focus on the use of multi-agent system in the modelization and simulation of biological and environmental processes. 10 minutes for Professor Vincent Rodin, and the screen is yours.
Okay, thank you. I will share my screen now. Okay, hop, tac. Then, sorry, I just wake up. It's a bit difficult this morning. Then I will present a talk about a tool which is in our university called, then my talk will be entitled A Cellular Automata-like Multi-Agent Engine for Environmental and Agro-Ecosystem Simulation. It's a bit complex title, but it's a multi-agent system engine based on cellular automata. Up. Okay. The roadmap of my talk will be focused firstly on the key concepts used, multi-agent system and cellular automata. And then I will present with a demonstration a software made by one of my colleagues, Pascal Ballet. The software is called NetBiodin. I will try to do a live demonstration. Then firstly, the main concept I use here is the concept of multi-agent system. An agent is a small autonomous program which is able to perceive its environment, to decide what to do when it perceives something, and then to act on the environment. It means, for example, either a movement. The goal of this end is to carry the seed to the needs, and when alone, it's not possible because the seed is too heavy, and automatically there is a call to other ants to do that. And this is a main concept of multi-agent system, to use many agents to achieve a specific task. Okay, it allows the emergence of comportment of behaviors. There is a robustness of agents system. It means that if one agent is not able to do its work, another agent will take its place automatically. And there is also an adaptability. That means that if the seed is bigger, automatically another ant will come. Okay, this is the agent concept, which share a kind of a lot of properties which are very interesting in biological systems. Now I will present you the second key concept is cellular automata. Cellular automata is composed of regular or irregular mesh. We are working currently on irregular, okay, but the work I will present today is regular mesh. In each mesh, we have a cell which is composed of various data, okay, which can be entities. We will see what it can be after, concentration, and so on. Another point which is very interesting in cellular automata is neighborhood. We focus, for example, on a 3x3 square, and the center of the cell is the neighborhoods, which can be 4 neighbors. For example, in the case of Van der Maan neighborhood, It can be also 8 neighbors, in the case of more neighborhood, but it's just here it's a 3x3 neighborhood, but it can be more, to be more precise, I would say. And another key point of serial automata is the transition rules, which is like a program of the serial automata. The transitional rules give you the way there is a data propagation between mesh or data transformation between meshes. What I will present now is a way to simulate, thanks to multi-agent and serial automata, how to simulate environmental and ecosystem simulation. In a cell, we can have entities, as I said, which is composed by agent or cell. It can be insects. It can be also seeds. It can be everything you can imagine. The environment is composed of a set of cells, okay, and to design the system, you need to design the interaction between the cells, and here it can be a high level interaction like entity, low level, I would say environment to environment, and also mixed level between entity and environment. The tool I will present you now is called NetBuilding, okay, and it's available on the website you can see now. And this software is designed for rapid prototyping of biological and environmental simulation, but also agro and ecosystem simulation. Well, up, okay. The key concept of this software is an environment composed of a grid, entity, colored square, and interaction, whatever you want as interaction, are designed thanks to simple rules. Okay, and the idea is you don't need any programming skill. It means that if you are not specialized in computer sciences, you can use that software very easily. The concept of this software is first to take a grid, okay, to decide which entity you will use in a different color square. And the third thing is to define rules with a probability of activation of that rules to give, for example, entity movements or interaction. It's you can design rules exactly like that. If you have a square, which can represent, for example, an animal, and an empty square just close to that animal, then you can swap. It means that this animal, the red square, will move. That's all. You can also design rules allowing to have some contamination. It means that if you have a red square and a green one, very close to the red, the green will become a red square. It's like a contamination in a way. And then once you did all of that, you need to place entity on the environment and to launch the simulation. And it is really very simple. Okay. I will. Oh, sorry. Up. Okay. Now, usually when you want to design a system, you need to design random walk of the system. And it is exactly like that. I will show you then in the software. You have a square here, and you can design that thanks simple rules. You can design that this square will move in one of the 4 neighbors. We use here 4 neighbors. I will do a quick demonstration here. Okay, you can see the software. I will add one entity called, for example, hey. You can see. Okay. I will add a behavior to an entity, and the behavior here I will call that here behavior. I hope everyone can see on my screen. Okay. And the behavior is an A, which is in the center, and with nothing somewhere around it. The entity will disappear at that level. The A become nothing, and the nothing will become A. That's all. And here you have some small arrows which indicate that the movement can be in other direction. Okay, I put here. I will design now the environment. I'm sorry, I didn't select. Okay, this is, you have some square which corresponds to object of A, and I can launch a simulation. And you can see, due to that movement, there is a dispersion. Okay. Okay, now I will modify the behavior of the A, and I will modify only by removing some arrows here, and you can see, oops, sorry, you can see that the movement will be only on the right side. I will launch, and you can see that there is a movement only on the right side. Okay, I will start, and then I will modify again the behavior. Till now, the behavior, the probability is 1. It means that at each step, there is a movement. Okay, but I can decide to modify that behavior, okay, to say 0.5. It means that sometime the behavior will not occur, sometime it will occur. And now, what I will, so you can see the movement, but there is a dispersion of the line. Okay, this is the first part of my demonstration. Okay, we'll restart my talk. Okay, then, okay, this I will, okay. Using that, I think I have only 10 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes. Okay. Okay. Then, using that system, we can design a more complex system. Here you have a fishery system with an environment which is composed of firstly a border, the black square. Okay, here there is some small square which correspond to the fishermen, which are dispatched along the border. You have also shrimps, which are pink red square, pink square. You have algae, which are green square, and you have fish, which are gray square. Okay, and I designed the system exactly as I presented you before, with simple behaviors. For example, here you can see that if there is a fish somewhere in the pond, you can have here, if a fish is somewhere with nothing around it, the fish will move. It's the same with the shrimp. It's just, so the algae, it can be, in fact, also, but with a low probability of movement. And the fisherman can also move on the border. The algae can grow with a simple movement. It means algae with nothing will become algae and algae. It's like a growth, okay? And you have also the fact that fish eat shrimps. When a fish eats shrimps, the fish divide. In fact, there is a newborn fish, and the fisherman can catch fish. Okay. I will make now a demonstration of that system. Up, okay, we have exactly that. And now I can launch the system, but I can also cancel, sorry. I can also select here to draw some curves on the right side. And you can see the evolution of, for example, the number of shrimps, okay, the number of fish during the time. And you can see that shrimps and fish, it's like a system pre-predator, which is well known. Okay, then when there is a lot of fish, there is less shrimps, and when there is a lot of shrimps, there is less fish. Okay, it's a classical system. And you can see also the algae, which the green curve here, which is moving also. Okay. When
Okay. Excuse me, the time is 1 minute.
yes, I know, but I was supposed to speak 15 minutes. That's why. Okay, I will conclude now. In the conclusion, multi-agent systems agent are autonomous. Okay, the agent behavior can be very complex, and the rules which govern the behavior can be very complex also. Okay. In the case of Cellular automata, the rules are very simple. Okay, and the fact to combine these two systems allow expressivity and efficiency. Expressivity of multi-agent and efficiency of cellular automata. And the rest is the rapid prototyping. Of course, it's too simple, but it's a way to very quickly test a first time a system. Okay. And the question, I think, will be for later. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much for your very interesting information, especially on simulation that you have presented. Now we are having Professor Yukie Saito from University of Tokyo. Professor Saito will present a paper with the title of Recent and Trend in Research and Development of Bio-Based Materials. Professor Yukie Saito is from University of Tokyo, Laboratory of Global Plant Material Science, Department of Global Agricultural Sciences, Graduate School of Agricultural Life Sciences. He graduated from University of Tokyo in biomaterials and a lot of experience, especially in the new materials. Professor Saito, 10 minutes for you, and the screen is yours now.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction, Dr. Illah, Sailah.
Yeah.
I'd like to share the screen. Is it visible?
Yeah, it's okay.
So first, I'd like to thank the organization committee of the conference for giving me this precious opportunity to talk about the topic of my research investigation. I think the requested title of presentation today is suitable for self-scrolling materials, which attract attention from the area of medical and life sciences. Today, I'd like to introduce a part of my work on self-scroll Kaito-san film. First, I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Rushinikov and the researchers in his group who collaborated with the topic which I'm going to present today. Research on self-scrolling material started about a century ago, and various mechanisms and its application had been suggested. However, almost all of them are with use of synthetic materials. If it is possible to form it with biopolymers, which is non-toxic, simple, abundant, and reproducible, it will open a lot of doors for various applications. One of their use is, for example, drug delivery to the target place directly. The unscroll has been precisely controlled at the scheduled time or pH or chemical circumstances of the target organ. The aim of the present study is to design some simple intelligent material with natural polymers such as Kaito-san. The concept of this study is to produce hygroscopic motive film. For this, one surface of film should be made more swollen than the other surface under moisture. Then it should be scrolled when we put it into moisture ambient. How we can give gradation in the thickness direction, this is the most important point for this study. In nature, we see hygroscopic motive system. A seed of a type of graminea can move around by themselves when it becomes moist. The motive seed must be hint for designing self-scrolled system. However, the mechanism of motivement is quite complicated in this case. The arms have bilayer structure arranged by the layers inside of which microwire-like cellulose microfibrils are embedded, and the angles of microfibrils were different. As a result, their expansion ratio and the moisture, the difference. So in the case of the plant, the microfibril angle is used for self-scrolling mechanism. However, it is too complicated and difficult to reproduce artificially. We seeked further simple and also less toxic method. How now I could like to introduce 3 ideas of self-scrolling strategies. We selected chitosan as a raw material. The chitosan is an amino polysaccharide derived from crust of crab and shrimp, abundant in the earth. Chitosan has many merits for this purpose, as listed here. It is soluble in 1% acetic acid. In comparison to other polymers like cellulose, the solvent for chitosan is less toxic, easy to handle, easy available. Also, the cassette film is smooth and transparent. These properties are very suitable for our purpose. For giving the gradation in the direction of the thickness of the film, cross-linking is usable. Chitosan was dissolved in aqueous acetic acid, cast it on a glass slide and dried, was immersed in TPP solution, and hydrochloric acid was added dropwise to it. When the solution is acidified, ionic cross-linking with TPP occurs on the surface of the chitosan film. However, the other side, tightly attached to a glass slide, cannot be exposed to the solution. Gradient ionic cross-linking of the chitosan film was achieved successfully. I'd like to show the resultant microscroll in the last part of this talk. The second idea is to make gradation in the thickness direction of the chitosan film by acetylation. The acetylation gives simple, less toxic, and biocompatible resultants. The acetylated chitosan should be less hydrophilic, and this method should bring hygroscopic scrolling chitosan film. The acetylated chitosan corresponds to chitin, which is also constituent of crust of crab and shrimp. Actually, origin of chitin and chitosan is same, and we alternatively modify them by acetylation and deacetylation for industrial purpose. So we thought applying acetylation for chitosan is very suitable. The method for preparation is very simple. Chitosan film casted on the glass slide was placed in an ambient of acetic anhydride vapor at 100 degrees Celsius for 15 minutes. Then the film on the slide was washed in water and dried, and acetic anhydride was removed completely. The exposed surface of the film is expected to be more acetylated than that unexposed surface, which is tightly attached to the glass slide surface. ATR, attenuated total reflection infrared spectroscopy, which detects only information of a few micrometers from the surface, was usable to check the difference of acetylation degree between the exposed surface and unexposed surface. We peeled the film from the slide glass and measured the both surface of the film separately. Untreated chitosan is originally partially acetylated by 20%. The unexposed surface was similarly acetylated degree as the original. However, the exposed surface showed apparently higher acetylation degree by 10%. Regardless of the thickness of the film, degree of acetylation indices were higher with the exposed surface than with the unexposed surface. This result clearly showed that one side more acetylation was successfully carried out. The acetylation gradient can be evidenced by the balloon-like swelling property of the film. An acetylated surface of the film swollen in water, while the acetylated surface becomes a hard, stable skin which covers the inner swollen part, showing balloon-like structure. The self-scrolling phenomena was observed with this film. The chitosan film with the graded acetylation and attached to glass slide was scratched with a razor and a slit made. When aqueous hydrofluoride is dropped on the film, the glass is partially solved and the film is peeled out and simultaneously swell at an acetylated surface more, and the film scrolled to form a microtube. The self-scrolling starts from the hydrofluoride spot and advances along the slit gradually. Finally, fringe of the film will be completely rolled up and a couple of tubes containing a few layers inside formed. So this is a movie for the self-scrolling of the chitosan film. A drop of hydrofluoric acid is put on the slit lines of the film. Then peeling starts and scrolling starts. Yes, now the drop is put on here and the scrolling starts from here. And yes, this is scroll. As a result, tightly rolled chitosan microtubes were formed. They have a diameter of 50 to 100 micrometer outside and a few decades micrometer inside. The acetylation is suitable for making self-scrolling chitosan film. However, it needs strong chemical acetic anhydride. We have recently found a more simple way, which doesn't need any strong chemical agent. It's crystalline mismatch. It is a way focusing on the several types of crystal structures of chitosan and difference of their hygroscopic behavior. By heating, crystalline transition occurs with chitosan film. This can be the most simple way. The research is ongoing. So we move to another part of the story. This is simple self-scrolling mechanism is the potentially applicable for microscale design with various naturally occurring polymers. Now I'd like to introduce some possible applications of this system. First, about micropackaging for drug delivery, and the second about microfurnace. The drug delivery work was done mainly by Dr. Rushnikov and his group. This is a trial to produce time-programmed release of drug by using chitosan self-scrolling system. The self-scrolled chitosan film was prepared by cross-linking method, which I introduced in the former part of this talk. In this case, fluorescent isocyanate dextran, FID, was mounted on the chitosan film and scrolled. Depending on the distance from the edge of the chitosan tube, the time of release can be controlled. The pattern of the micro-roll was embedded into PDMS matrix in order to enforce and immerse it into water. In water, swelling advances from edge to center, and the FID macromolecules become mobile after arriving the swelling front, propagating along the chitosan tube axis and moved gradually to outside, the concentration of FID of the water solution was detected. The release of FID can be retarded by a few hours with respect to the position on the microroll. When the microroll has two FID strips, the two peaks appears. The impulse release kinetics can be simulated also. So the second is about microreactor. The micro furnace. When the precursor Kaito-san scrolled tube is heated up 900 degrees Celsius, it becomes electron conductive. This tube was connected to electron circuit and applied to voltage. It heats up due to the electron resistance. This is a well-known Joule heating system. So inside of this system, this type of the exotic carbon, which has a very unique property, is made. And here, we impregnated the seed in the advance to make it the Kaito-san tube. And then we get a lot of plenty of the materials here. So it is the last slide. Today, I talked about how to make self-scrolling system using Kaito-san film and a couple of examples of applications. As for self-scrolling, cell technology and neuroscience areas, pay attention also. Dr. Teshima and his colleagues encapsulated cells into microscrolls film and constructed a tube-like tissue. Also, they applied the self-scrolling technique to graphene and encapsulated neuron into the tube and successfully construct functional neuronal tissue artificially. So self-scrolling system of biopolymers can be one of the most high future growth potential. So my colleagues, Dr. Kurokochi and Mr. Ohira, our student, will have the presentation. So if you are interested in please listen to their presentation also. Thank you very much for your kind attention. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Saito.
Thank you very much.
For your information and very futuristic materials for the future, especially from Kito-san, that we have a lot of resources in Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, now we come to question and answer. Do we have questions, Ibu Elisa? Okay. And Professor Yandra, say hello to the speakers.
Yeah. Yeah, can I say hello?
Yeah, actually, Professor Yandra say thank you to Professor Guillermo and also to Professor Vincent. And now he had some of the students who working with application of IoT, AI, and blockchains to modernize agriculture in Indonesia. We can collaborate with the students of ITB University, with Professor Guillermo Baigorria and also Professor Vincent Rodin. And is there any other questions from audience? If none, I want to just raise a question. Is there any?
Just I want to make a comment. Janta, thank you very much. And yes, let's go to continue that collaboration that we stopped like 5 or 6 years ago. So I'm ready to go there and start applying all that we have, and let's do it. Let's continue talking.
I wish I could go to your place again, to Nebraska again to visit you. Okay. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Also, Professor Rodin, if you still, we still have a collaboration project right now.
Yes, I hope also we will be able to work really together, because with the COVID-19, it it was difficult, in fact, to come in Indonesia and to come in France. That's then. Next year, I hope it will be possible.
Okay. Great to hear that. Okay. Also, Gui, I invite you to come to Indonesia again. Yeah. Everybody. Yeah. Thank you, Illah, moderator.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. I think there's none questions from audience. There is none questions from audience.
Mahfud,
The
chat.
There is another question from.
Yes, Bu Illah.
Yeah, from.
I have wrote
Mahfud,
in chat room.
Okay. So this is the question from Professor Mahfud to Dr. Guillermo Baigorria and also to Professor Vincent Rodin, as you can see on the screen. Maybe Dr. Baigorria, can you answer first?
Sure, absolutely. I had this question before, and it makes me remember, during the 70s, the 80s, there was a boom of the robotics, right? The robots starting to go into the market and to replace people in the manufacturing industry, right? Cars construction and etc. And it was something similar discussion about robots will take over on the workers, on the rednecks, what we call rednecks people, and etc. etc. But it's been how many years? 3, 4, 5 decades, and it's been the opposite. Robots are part of our life, more and more, and they've been facilitating our life a lot. And on the other hand, people have been pushed a little bit in order to perfection themselves in technical terms, okay, in order to have a more upgraded jobs. In the case of AIs, talking about agriculture, at the beginning I was thinking about the competition between these AIs that are capable to replace agronomists, for example, in the field, but it's not. It's basically what we are doing with the AIs is to provide help or support to these type of professionals. It's like the calculator. Again, during the 90s, 80s, 90s, we have the calculators, and we will not needing more engineers anymore. We didn't need to learn and memorize the multiplication, things, and basically they have become a tool in order to help professionals and people in order to improve themselves and also to improve the service they are giving to the rest of the people. So of course there could be a lot of let's say bad ideas regarding the use of AIs, but again, this is the market, the science and the logics are the one that will drive the future. I don't know if Professor Vincent, Rodin, if you have any comments about this.
Yes, thank you. It's a very good comment about use of IA robots, which need to help humans, and the use in the industry, robots in industry for a long time used to help people. But for agronomy, it can be also very helpful. But you need to have in mind that all the time, human must control the artificial intelligence system. It is a really key point. And for example, recently we bought high-level computer with many processors, and the company which sells that computer, I will not mention that company, but the company asked us to sign a paper saying that you will never use that computer for bad things. It means for to design weapons, for example. Okay, and we bought that computer only for environmental simulation to know, for example, when there is a storm that will happen in the field and so on. Never for military reason. Okay. And it's important to keep that in mind. But unfortunately, probably some people will use them. It's important to keep control on that kind of problem. In France, probably in other country, there is a field, a research field about law applied to robots and computer in the future. Okay. What could happen if, for example, an automatic vehicle killed someone? And it's a very interesting problem, which is combine technology and law. Okay, I don't know if I answer properly to the question, but keep in mind that it's important to keep control every time. That's my comment about the question.
Thank you. Thank you, Illah.
Okay, thank you, Pak Yandra. Thank you very much for Professor Vincent and also Dr. Baigorria. And now maybe the last question from me to Professor Saito, concern about the Kitosan that you have been done a lot, especially in self-scrolling ability. What kind of resources for Kitosan that you made and you have experiment? Because a lot of resources actually from especially from ocean. So maybe I need to know about that information.
Okay, thank you very much. It is a very important point. And that is what I used is the chemicals which is available commercially
Okay.
and from chemical company. And that company is from the crab shell or the shrimp shell. But anyway, it's a kind of alpha chitin. The crystal structure is alpha. And perhaps if you use a beta chitin, perhaps you will get a similar result. But you have to take care of the deacetylation degree, because if the acetylation or deacetylation degree of the sample is different, the film itself behave very differently, as you know.
Okay. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to the time, we have consumed more than 1 hour for this part. So finally, we come to the end of this seminar. Before I close the seminar, I would like to take the conclusion from what speakers has presented. And I think the simple conclusion, but very deep meaning, actually the future is here now. Integrating software and hardware system to support decision making in agriculture is already here. So we need to have the data become information and turn to decision making. It's not a longer dream. That's true, Dr. Baigorria. It's real now. However, we just have a choice. We are going to face it, to do it, or we leave it. So this is SDGs also needs, yeah, to have a lot of information about technology. Thank you, Dr. Baigorria, for your example. Very inspiring us, and we learn a lot from your speech. And from Professor Vincent Rodin, thank you very much for your speech, especially in mass multi-agent system. I like with your key concept and very diligent simulation. I hope we can collaborate for Indonesian agriculture in the future. And thank you very much to Professor Yukie Saito. We have a lot of experiments, but we need a lot of collaboration with Japan, who well known about the biomaterials, especially for the future materials. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank the speaker for the informative and interesting presentation, and especially to all of the participants for the very active presentation from part 1 to part 2. Finally, I want to give applause to all of the speakers and to all of participants. Thank you very much. I hope we can see you again in the next meeting, or maybe in the next collaboration, because we need a lot of communication and collaboration if we want to have the success future. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Insinyur Illah Sailah, MS PhD. On behalf of the Committee of the International Conference on Innovation Technology and Management for Sustainable Agroindustry, or ITaMSA 2021, we would like to present a token of appreciation for the honorable moderator and presenter of today's session. Here is the token of appreciation for our invited speakers. Profesor Dr. Insinyur Anas Miftah Fauzi, M.Eng, from IPB University, Indonesia. Dr. Justinus Satrio, from Villanova University, United States. Professor Randy Stringer, from the Center for Global Food and Resources, University of Adelaide, Australia. Dr. Guillermo Baigorria, from Next Season Systems, United States. Professor Vincent Rodin, from Université de Bretagne Occidentale, France. Professor Yukie Saito, from the University of Tokyo, Japan. And Insinyur Illah Sailah, MS PhD, from IPB University as the moderator of our plenary session. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the plenary session. May we kindly welcome you to have a lunch break. And at 1 p.m. of Western Indonesian time, or KST+7, we will have a parallel session. There will be 7 parallel groups for this session. The first parallel group will be moderated by Professor Tajuddin Bantachut. The second parallel group will be moderated by Professor Erliza Nur. The third parallel group will be moderated by Professor Haswar Shamsu. The fourth parallel group will be moderated by Dr. Sugiarto. The fifth parallel group will be moderated by Professor Marimin. The sixth parallel group will be moderated by Dr. Endang Warsiki. And the seventh parallel group will be moderated by M. Arif Darmawan, STP MT. The breakout rooms will be open, and you can enter the breakout room based on your parallel group. The schedule can be seen on the screen. And please be aware of the schedule and be ready 5 minutes before your turn. Please be reminded that tomorrow is the second day of the International Conference on Innovation Technology and Management for Sustainable Agroindustry, or ITaMSA 2021. This conference is organized by Department of Agroindustrial Technology, IPB University, with Indonesian Agroindustrial Association, or AGRIN, in a collaboration with Villanova University and the University of Tokyo. We will have 2 plenary sessions and 4 speakers from the private sector. Thank you very much and enjoy your lunch break. Thank you.